Are you looking for a three-row SUV because you happen to have a growing family? I suggest going down to your local Hyundai dealership because they have two very strong contenders, a Hyundai Palisade and a Hyundai Santa Fe. The question is, which one are you going to like best? Well, hopefully in this video, it'll shine some light on the things that are important to you so that way you can make that decision for yourself. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna dive into each vehicle individually and allow you to make that decision for yourself. So come along for the ride, and let's get started. The nice thing about this comparison is that although both vehicles are different, they are still Hyundais at the end of the day, which means that no matter which route you choose, you will still benefit from America's Best warranty, which does include up to 10 years of powertrain coverage and 3 years of free maintenance. Now, if you happen to be in need of a third row on a more daily basis, the Palisade might be a better fit for you. From the outside, you can tell the Palisade's overall design is actually not that polarizing. A lot of people like the Palisade because it actually looks like a very attractive SUV. Not only do you have these beautiful LED running lights on the front, you also do have these beautiful 18-inch rims on the side, and of course, if you are of the more traditional sense, if you want a V6 for more consistent power, the Palisade actually gives that to you because it does have a 3.8 liter V6 that's able to produce about 290 horsepower to do any type of family hauling you need, but is still managing to give you right about 22 miles per gallon between city and highway driving if you elect to get front wheel drive. Being that this specific Palisade actually happens to be the SEL version, which is technically only the package level 2, you do have a lot of goodies on the inside as well. First and foremost, you do have Hyundai's H-Tex leather interior, so that way, if a mess happens, cleanup is a lot easier, whether it's cookie crumbs or spilled liquids. Another great thing about this being in the SEL is that it is the first level to bring captain's chairs. So if you have children of mixed ages, the older ones can probably squeeze through the middle section and go sit in the third row, whereas if you have children that are still in booster seats or car seats, you can leave those seats affixed to those captain's chairs for easy loading and unloading without really having to mess with that middle seat at all. And just because children can sit back there, don't misunderstand it and think that only children can sit back there, because there's a lot of good things in the third row if you decide to make that your seat. Not only do you have air conditioning vents in the ceiling, so that way on the hottest days, people in the rear can feel just as comfy as the people in the front. Now I want to move up to that second row because here's a few goodies I want to point out. Those captain's chairs I mentioned actually do have armrests, so people sitting on them can be as comfortable as possible even on long road trips. And on long road trips, for any type of charging needs, you actually do happen to have USB-Cs on the sides of the front two seats. And my favorite thing, especially if you're a little temperature sensitive, the people in the second row can control the air conditioning for the rear half of the vehicle without having to be reliant on the driver. Now I'm happy to report that even when you move into the front seats, the entire cushy and roomy motif still exists, plus a few other things. Not only do you have standard GPS with the Palisade, but you also do have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto connectivity in case you prefer to use Google Maps or Waze, for example. Not to mention, but on top of all that, you still do have independent air conditioning controls up front, so the driver and the front passenger can be in their own air conditioning bubbles along with the people in back. That's why they like to call it tri-zone cooling. And another great thing is the heated seats. If you go SEL, the front seats are heated, and let's face it, if you could afford a Palisade, your back probably hurts sometimes, and heated seats helps with that a lot. And by the way, guys, I am a real salesperson here in Orlando, so if you are looking for a local hookup, all you got to do is click the link below that says schedule with Miguel, make an appointment, and then come on in. And as a salesperson, I'm not going to sit here and promise you that I'm not going to try to sell you a car, but I can guarantee that even if you don't buy a car from me, I'm going to give you all the information you're going to need to know, so that way you can make a decision when it's right for you. But now that you know that, let's go back to the comparison. Up until this point, I've basically been telling you how the Palisade can help passengers in the vehicle, but I have yet to tell you how the Palisade can help the driver of the vehicle, and let's face it, this is probably the most important seat in the house. So now, we're going to talk about safety. Even if you happen to get the least expensive Palisade, they will all come with what I'm about to tell you. If you happen to be driving down the road and do not have enough time to hit the brakes, the Palisade does have forward collision avoidance assist, which will help you in hitting the brakes to either reduce or hopefully eliminate a collision. Plus, on the mirrors, you do have blind spot indicators, so if somebody's cruising along next to you and you don't happen to see them in your mirrors, the Palisade will alert you to their presence as long as you use the blinkers. And of course, you do have not only lane keeping assist, but also lane following assist, so that way you could decide whether you only want to stay within the lane or smack dab in the middle. And those are a few of the things that are happening if you're going forwards, but what if you're going in reverse? Let's say you are backing out of a parking space and you can't really see who's coming behind you. Well, that's the reason the Palisade has rear cross detection. So if somebody's moving behind the vehicle, you will be alerted to it, so that way you don't run into them. Another great thing is not only do you have backup camera so you can see what's behind you, but you also do have backup sensors that beep. The faster they beep, the closer you are to whatever object might be there, so you know exactly how much room you have to play with. As you can see, the Palisade SEL is a very competent and comfortable third row SUV, and like I mentioned before, if you usually need to have that third row up and filled with people, the Palisade is a better option for you. And you can get it all for around $41,000 to $42,000 MSRP. But let's say if you don't want to spend that much money, or you don't always need the third row, or you don't like the fact that the Palisade is a V6, well, that's why they built the Santa Fe, because it has a lot of other benefits, including less price and more tech. Now, comparing a Palisade SEL to a Santa Fe SEL is actually a lot simpler than what most people would think, because they still have the same stuff in the middle, the same warranty, the same safety, and most importantly, they still are both very practical because they're still both third row. There are a few things that do change though, aside from the overall design. The MSRP of the Santa Fe SEL front-wheel drive actually is right around $39,000 to $40,000, so it is several $1,000s less expensive, so that way, if you like saving money, the Santa Fe might actually be a good option. Another place that the Santa Fe can save you money is at the gas pump, because it does not have a V6 like its Palisade brother. It actually has a turbocharged 4-cylinder that gives you 277 horsepower while still giving you a city highway average of 24 miles per gallon for the non-hybrid Santa Fe's. If you decide to get a hybrid Santa Fe, you're actually going to see an increase to about 35 or 36 miles per gallon between city and highway driving. And as of right now, the Palisade does not offer that, and it has never been a hybrid. But all that is soon to change in the 2026 version, but that's a topic for another video. Moving on from that, I would like to talk about the Santa Fe's design, because it is one of the most polarizing things about the entire vehicle, and I want to actually shed some light on it. So vocal was the rear tailgate hate that Hyundai actually decided to include a module in our Santa Fe training to explain the reasoning as to why the Santa Fe looks the way it does in the rear. And the reason is cargo space. This generation of Santa Fe was actually styled from the rear tailgate forward, so that way owners of the Santa Fe can actually have the most amount of cargo/passenger room in the rear. And obviously, if the designers would have included rear brake lights into that rear pillar, it would have made it thicker, which means the cargo volume would have been less, which goes against the entire thought process of this new Santa Fe. The new Santa Fe is to help owners thrive and also fit more than 5. And if you're wondering about the space in the third row, I want to show you something. I wanted to make it a point in this video to actually sit in the third row of the Santa Fe, because there's always that person in the comments that says the Santa Fe doesn't have a lot of room in the third row. It's only good for kids. A real adult can't sit back there. Guess what? I'm a 6'1" adult, and I enjoy the finer foods in life. And I'm sat in the back of the Santa Fe. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. If we're going cross country, I'm not going to choose this seat. I'm not going to say that this is so much space like a Cadillac Escalade, because it's not. It's a Santa Fe. But if you happen to have friends or family that come in from out of town and you all want to go to the same place together, the Santa Fe just might do you right, even if you're a little bit taller sitting in that third row. And if somebody does elect to sit in the third row, not only will they enjoy the space, but you still do have rear air conditioning for Santa Fe passengers in the back if you get the SEL model and above. Other similarities between an SEL Palisade and a Santa Fe are the seats. You still have the same Hyundai H-Tech seating surfaces that you would find in the Palisade, even if you decide to go with the Santa Fe. And for the people that are riding in the middle, you still do have those convenient chargers placed on the back of the front 2 seats, so that way you can still charge up your devices, even if you're not sitting up front. Now, what about the differences? Well, as you can see here, in the back of a Santa Fe SEL, you only have a bench seat. You do not have captain's chairs unless you go to the fanciest level of Santa Fe, which is called the Calligraphy, which happens to also be the most expensive. Another thing for second row passengers, which is going to be a big change from a Palisade, is that you actually do not have air conditioning controls for the people in the second row. But don't think that it's all fun and games for the Palisade, because there's a few things that Santa Fe has that the Palisade just doesn't. For example, right here you have this center console that opens up from the front, but if you notice, there's also a button right here in the back, so that way people in the rear can access things in that center console. And beyond that, there is a little pull-out tray for extra cargo space for the people in the back seat that the Palisade just doesn't have. Now, if you move up into the front row of the Santa Fe, you're going to notice a few things, one of which is going to be this massive wraparound display where you can see everything. Driver speed, RPM, and even radio controls are all accessed by this one massive touchscreen. And that touchscreen is actually when people start realizing that the Santa Fe is actually really advanced, because every single Santa Fe, including this one, has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, while the Palisade does have that standard, you still do need to plug it in with a cable from your phone into the car, where on the Santa Fe, it is 100% wireless. And if you start looking under that touchscreen, you're going to notice a mini touchscreen for the air conditioning controls. Things like the direction, fan speed, and even heated seats are all going to be housed in that little center area. And of course, between the front two seats, you do have a wireless charger, so that way you can charge up your phone or any other device that's compatible with wireless charging. The reason you have so much extra space in the middle console is because they've actually moved the shift knob. It's actually behind the steering wheel on this little shift stalk. So if you want to go forwards, all you have to do is twist the end of the shift knob forward and the car is in drive. If you want to go into reverse, just twist it on back and the car will go into reverse. And of course, if you want to put in park, just like you're clicking a pen, you can click the end of that little shift knob and then have the car go in park. And when it comes to driving the Santa Fe, rest assured that you will love the drive. I've actually had several customers say that they like the way the Santa Fe drives over the Palisade, which to me makes sense because the Santa Fe does have some of the newer technology. But rest assured, no matter which one you go with, the Santa Fe and Palisade both have the same type of safety and convenience features that you'll get, including the backup sensors that beep when it detects an object behind the vehicle. But if you're going forward, something else that the Santa Fe has extra are the forward parking sensors. So if you're pulling up into the garage, you could just listen to the forward facing sensors instead of having to worry about dangling a little tennis ball from the ceiling like you would have to do on the Palisade. In fairness, the Palisade does have forward parking sensors as well, but they're not available unless you decide to upgrade from the SEL. I can keep on going on and on as to the differences in each model, but at the end of the day, what are the takeaways going to be? Well, if you're looking for a vehicle that has more power, more space, and less of a polarizing design, the Palisade might be right up your alley. But if you still want to buy a third row vehicle that still has some decent space, costs less money to run, and is less money to buy, the Santa Fe might be the one you should choose. After all that information, the question remains, which one is right for you? If you happen to be on Team Palisade, all you got to do is click this little icon right here at the top of the screen if you're watching on mobile, or just look down in the description where it says Palisade Comparison. If you're on Team Santa Fe, all you got to do is click this little icon if you're watching on mobile, or just go down in the description again and look at Santa Fe Comparison video. And thank you so much for coming along. If you like these videos, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. And don't forget, hit the little bell icon so that way you can know the second I upload my newest videos. But till next time, I'm the Garrett Car Guy, and I'll see you soon.